Tovat Hashem, tonight is Hilula-Rav Ovadia Yosef. זכותו יגן עלינו, בר ג'ורג'יה, right? הכל עמו ישראל. So let's explain. Ovadia Yosef, his neshama came to this world, באמת, to bring up not only Torah, he brought so much Torah, he was helping people. His neshama came to help people. Till him, everything was no, don't do this, don't go there. Ovadia Yosef, היה לו כוח דהיתרה. He had the koach, the power to be permitting a lot of things through the Shulchan Aruch. Means, as we know, the Rama, which is there is Maran, Rav Yosef, and Rav Yosef Karo, and there is Rama. Maran is more, means in his way of writing the halachot, he took more of a lenient way. The Rama was everything very strict. In Europe, they were very strict, right? But Maran also has point of strictness. For example, Bet Yosef, Basar Bet Yosef. What does it mean? When you take an animal and you check the lungs, it has to be completely halak, completely without any defect, The Rama says no. Even if you have a small sircha, which is like a small, like a saliva on top of it, right? A string like a saliva, if you can take it off easily, it's okay. Maran says no, it's taref. Completely taref. Maran was machmir bishul akum. He says it's not enough that you open the fire and you let the goy cook. You have also to participate in the cooking. So like to steer the pot. This is Maran, is more strict, right? So one time they came to Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach Zatzal, a big posek Ashkenazi. And they asked him, it's a lot of assimilation. What should we do? So he told them, you want to be stopping the assimilation? Start to be machmir in the two halachot of Maran. Basar Bet Yosef and the Bishul B'Israel. Right? Rav Ovadia, on this, he was very makpid. On everything else, whatever he could be makel, Pesach, right? Whatever. Kashrut, anything, he was very lenient. I want to read with you halakha today. Since it's Hilula today, I want to read it to you halakha today. It says over here, people, po'alim mashkimekum. We just switched the clock. Now, right, we just switched the clock. But sometimes in certain parts like Canada, England, France, now in the winter, net sachama, sunrise is not before 7:30. England, 8:30. Some people have to be at 8 o'clock at work. How are they going to do shachrit? How is it possible to pay shachrit? In Israel also the same thing, right? Sometimes people have to rush to work. How do you pray? Ovadia Yosef was asked the question. פועלים משכימי קום שצריכים להגיע למקום עבודתם בשעות מוקדמות של הבוקר. They have to get to work very early. And the minyan is later. So eventually they're going to make their own minyan. But what's the earliest time to start praying? Sometimes you have to catch a plane. Sometimes you have to catch a flight, right? And you look at the clock and you look at the flight, it's like, it's impossible to make it. Sit on the plane and put tefillin is not so comfortable. To arrive to destination, sometimes very late. Ma'osim, what are we doing exactly? Rav Yosef was asked the question. So he says like this. First of all, he says in Masechet Brachot, they said, Avua de Shmuel veLevi. The father of Shmuel and Levi, which were Amoraim, כשהיו יוצאים לדרך, when they would go on the road, would take the road on a trip, היו מקדימים מתפללים. Before you go anywhere, you should pray. The Gemara says, you want to be successful, you want to have a pleasant trip, before you take a flight, before you take a trip in the car, in the plane, תתפלל, קודם תתפלל. First pray, and then you go on your way. So we see, אבוה דשמואל, the father of Shmuel and Levi, כשהיו יוצאים לדרך, היו מקדימים מתפללים. וכשהיה מגיע הזמן קריאת שמע, and when Shema's time came, היו קוראים קריאת שמע. So they would pray, and מתי שהגיע הזמן קריאת שמע, they would say Shema over again. Rashi says, איך יכול להיות? So Rashi says, they would pray לפני עמוד השחר, קודם עמוד השחר. They would pray קודם עמוד השחר. So let's explain, yeah? שחרית. כן, נכון, אבל רגע, עכשיו מדברים על שחרית. What's עמוד השחר? This is what we call dawn, and what we call sunrise. Dawn is let's say if you go to the beach and you look at the horizon, אתה מסתכל באופק, you would see the horizon starts to shine to become light, but you don't see the sun. When do you start seeing the horizon to shine? 72 minutes before sunrise. Sunrise is when the sun comes out on the line of the horizon. If you look at the horizon, by sunrise you would see the edge of the sun touching the horizon. This is Netz Achama. Matchila litnotzetz. She starts to rise. 72 minutes before, you start to see the light of the sun. זה נקרא עמוד השחר. עמוד השחר, the light of dawn. Right? עלות השחר. כן, עלות השחר. כן. Right? כן, בסדר. כן? בגמרא כתוב עמוד השחר. בפוסקים כתוב עלות. עולה. כן, 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 זה בשתי, both terms. עכשיו בוא נראה משהו. We said 72 minutes, נכון? Not everybody holds like this. Ovadia brings down that שולחן ערוך, בזמן הגמרא לא היה שעון. There was no watch. As you cannot talk about minutes. There was no watch. אז אתה לא יכול לדבר על דקות, או על שעות. There's not. So what did the Gemara speak about? Distance. Distance. נכון? בשולחן ערוך כתוב that the distance, the difference of time between עלות השחר and נץ החמה, 4 מילין. מילין. Not mile. 16 קילומטר. לא mile, 4 מילין. each meal, no. לא, אתה מדבר על פרסה. מיל זה קילומטר. Mil of the Talmud is 1 kilometer. More or less, it's 968 to be more accurate, but mil is a kilometer. Maran Kotev, 2 places. He writes that the matzah, the dough of the matzot of Pesach, if you let it sit, if you make dough for matzot and you let it sit, the matzah, the dough will become chametz b'shiur mil. מה זה שיעור מיל? What's a meal? Right? So Maran writes 18 minutes. 18 minutes. Maran repeats this halacha בהלכות מליחת הבשר. When you have to salt meat. Normally, when you salt meat, you should wait 1 hour. Today, people don't salt meat. They go to the butcher, they buy the meat ready. But in Israel, still some people, or in the world, some people still salt their meat. So when you salt your meat, you have to wait 1 hour. Maran Omer, and if you receive guests unexpectedly, and your meat is not salted, they're not going to wait 1 hour that you salt the meat and then you start cooking it, right? So Maran says, what's the minimum of salting the meat? 18 minutes. 18 דקות. This is the minimum. And after 18 minutes you salted the meat, you can rinse it and start cooking it. Okay? So Maran repeats it twice. The problem is, the Rambam, בפירוש המשניות על פסחים, he writes the meal is not 18 minutes, it's 24 minutes. 24 minutes. So look at the difference. If I say meal is 18 minutes, and the difference between alot hashachar and netz hachama is 4 meal, means 4 times 18. How much is it? 72. 72 minutes. If I say the meal is 24 minutes, and between alot hashachar and netz hachama is 4 meal, is 24, 90 minutes, 96 minutes. Big difference. If you take the calendars, all the calendars are written by Ashkenazim. So always the alot hashachar is later or earlier, right? Earlier because it's 90 minutes before. The nafkemina, ta'anit. When does the ta'anit start? Ta'anit starts alot hashachar. If you hold 90 minutes or 96 minutes, it's going to be 20 minutes before, as opposed to Shulchan Aruch, which is going to be 20 minutes. 72. 72. It's going to 72 to 96 versus 96. 20 minutes, 24 minutes, right? So Rav Ovadia says, first of all, he sets down, according to Shulchan Aruch, he wrote 18 minutes, the 18 minutes. So, מה צריך לעשות? How do you pray? If you have to go on the way, how do you pray? Says Rav Ovadia like this. You cannot pray before alot hashachar. Alot hashachar is day. Alot HaShachar is daytime. He brings down, in the time of the Ma'aril, which is a Posek Ashkenazi, they saw the moon and they thought the sun is coming up, and they started to pray Shachrit, and then they realized it's the moon. V'gazar ta'anit 3 yamim. He decreed ta'anit 3 days. Lama shitpalelu balayla? Because they prayed Shachrit at night. Okay? As Omer, it's very chamur, it's very strict not to pray at night. But Ovadia says like this: if I follow the Ashkenazi opinion, and the Alot HaShachar is 96 minutes, 90 minutes, right? You know what I can do? I can start korbanot, according to their opinion. He says, start korbanot. ב-90 דקות, 90 minutes before נצח חמה, תתחיל korbanot, start korbanot. Start korbanot slowly, ובעלות השחר של מרן, עלות השחר, which is 20 minutes later, תתחיל ברוך שאמר. Start saying ברוך שאמר. Right? Then, right, you cannot put tefillin yet. Tefillin is 6 minutes after Alot HaShachar. After Alot HaShachar, yes. So, מה, תחכה עכשיו 6 minutes? You're going to lose time. Continue praying. Go to Ishtabach. Continue to Ishtabach. When you reach Ishtabach, finish the bracha. ברוך אתה השם מלך מעולם בתשבחות, amen. Once you finish bracha, all the kahal stops. They put tefillin in beracha, okay? And then the Hazan says Kaddish, right? Adnai tzavot imam zgav sela, Adnai tzavot shombach, Adnai Hashem korenu, Kaddish, and then you continue the prayer. So basically, to resume, you can start tefillah bizman alot hashachar shel Ashkenazim, which is 90 minutes. You can reach Baruch She'amar by alot hashachar of the Sephardim. You cannot put tefillin yet. Continue to Ishtabach, reach Ishtabach, say the bracha of the Ishtabach, amen. Put tefillin in bracha and continue your prayer till the end. He says, since it's minyan po'alim and since you're in a rush, no need to do chazara. No need to do chazara. And chazara, they have to rush. They have to rush to work, right? No need to do tachanunim of Monday and Thursday. Because tachanunim of Monday and Thursday is a takanat geonim. But if possible, take out Sefer Torah, which is takanat Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu taken Sefer Torah. Huh?
If possible.
If possible. And if not, after tefillah, Ashrei shebetecha, alenu yishabeach. Huh? No Birkat Kohanim. He says you can skip Birkat Kohanim. We are talking about people which are in a rush. So you're in the airport, you're in a rush to catch the plane. You don't have much time. So it's mamash, right? It's tight. If you could start בעלות השחר של האשכנזים, do fast till להשתבח, put tefillin, say the עמידה, you take a tefillin, you go into the plane. In the plane you continue tefillah בלי tefillin. Right? That's גם פועלים. He wrote this for פועלים. פועלים means workers in Israel, which have to go already 5 o'clock, they have to go to work. מניין פועלים, זה נקרא... עכשיו, אבל, if you're not פועל, if you don't have to get, you're not allowed, אסור לך. You're not allowed to pray in such a minyan. Sometimes they tell you, we need minyan, בוא תשלים minyan. אתה לא יכול. You can't. Because you're not a פועל. This is only for people who are working. This is a kula to pray לפני נצח חמה. נצח חמה is the first time you can pray. Right? עמידה. Right? Before that, only פועלים. Only people have to catch a flight. Only people go to work. Only people, they're in a rush to go somewhere. They must go to anything. Right? But if you're not, you have all the time. Right? You must pray. You must pray at the time of tefillah, which is נצח חמה. כן. If you wake up, for sure, you can say ברכות השחר. ברכות השחר. Yes, after midnight. After midnight, you wake up. אחרי חצות, you can stay already ברכות התורה, ברכות השחר, ברכות התורה, all those ברכות. That's it, you're up. You got up after חצות. If you go to sleep back, you say only ברכות התורה, you go to sleep and you wake up. And then you say ברכות השחר and ברכות התורה again. Every time you go to sleep, if you wake up in the middle of the night, and you want to study a little bit before you cannot fall asleep, you say Birkot HaTorah, you study, you go to sleep. You wake up again in the middle of the night, You wash your hands, ברכות התורה, you start a bit.
גם אם הוא רוצה לברך בסתם על ברכות הנהנים, גם צריך ברכות.
לא, ברכות התורה is only for studying.
רק לסטאדינג?
Just for studying.
אני קם ב3 עושה תיקון חצות, ואז
יפה.
עושה ברכות השם, תיקון חצות.
יפה, חזק. In the morning you have to repeat again. ברכות השם. סבבת השם.
אתה חוזר לישון?
שבת אני מחכה עד 1 בלילה, כאילו אני חוזר לישון, יש לי שעון.
Yeah.
מחכה עד 1 בלילה ער,
בעזרת השם.
אחרי תיקון חצות.
יקראי, you don't want to sleep. When you stay up all night.
מי שהלך לישון עד מידנייט.
Yes.
עושה נתינה.
יפה.
ברכות
יכול, כן?
אחר כך בבוקר עוד...
יכול לעשות ברכות השחר כבר. If he's going to stay up, somebody who is staying up the whole night, he got up after midnight, you can say ברכות השחר and ברכות התורה.
מה יותר טוב?
יגיד, אין בעיה. כן, הכי טוב.
תתחיל.
עד השם, so רבי עובדיה יוסף, tonight is Hilula, עד השם שזכותו תגן עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, אמן כן יהי רצון. ברוך ה' לעולם, אין בעיה.